Welcome back to Us Mint Mysteries. Tonight, get ready, because we're about to uncover 5 ultra-rare Kennedy half dollars that most people walk past without a second thought, yet a few of these could explode in value to life-changing money. Some of these coins look ordinary on the outside, but their hidden details can turn a simple pocket find into a small fortune. So stay with me, and if you love discovering the secrets hiding inside America's coins, make sure you subscribe so you never miss another mystery from the U.S. Mint. Now let's begin with the coin that almost every American has seen, but almost no one has truly looked at closely. The 1971 Kennedy half dollar. And I know what you're thinking, oh come on. Those things are everywhere. But stay with me, because this one hides a twist so shocking that even seasoned coin pros still shake their heads when they hear what a single rare variation can be worth. And if your coin is in extra fine condition, like the one we're looking at now, you're already ahead of millions of collectors who toss theirs back into circulation without a second glance. The 1971 half dollar marks the very first year the U.S. Mint removed silver from the Kennedy series. On paper, it should be worth only 50 cents. But here's the part no one expects. Not all 1971 halves left the mint the way the government intended. A tiny number were accidentally struck on leftover 40% silver planchets from 1970. These wrong metal errors were never meant to exist, yet a few escaped detection, slipped into rolls, and ended up in pockets, jars, and dresser drawers across the country. So imagine this. Someone could be holding a plain-looking 1971 half dollar right now, and not realize that theirs weighs slightly more, sounds slightly sharper, and carries a silver composition the mint insists is impossible. That tiny mistake can turn a 50-cent piece into a mega rarity. Now look closely at your coin. In extra fine condition, the details of Kennedy's hairline remain sharp. You can still see the separation of the strands above his ear. The cheek has only light wear. The letters of Liberty stand tall and bold, with just minor smoothing on the high points. On the reverse, the eagle's wings keep most of their feather lines, and the shield shows clean vertical bars. XF condition tells us this coin has been handled, yes, but lightly. Just enough circulation to show honesty, while still maintaining the crisp detail that collectors love. But what pushes this coin into jaw-dropping territory is not just condition. It's the possibility, however small, that your 1971 is one of the ultra-rare transitional era coins. And here's where values become unbelievable. A regular 1971 half dollar in XF might bring a modest few dollars. But if your coin happens to be struck on a leftover silver planchet, collectors will lose their minds over it. And that's not an exaggeration. One verified piece sold for more than $150,000, and experts believe the next one that surfaces could easily push $300,000, $400,000, maybe even $500,000 because so few exist, and every new discovery sends shockwaves through the hobby. How can you tell if you're holding one of these mysterious wrong metal rarities? Start with the weight. A standard clad 1971 half dollar should weigh about 11.34 grams. A silver transitional error will hit closer to 11.5 minus 11.7 grams. Just enough difference to change history. Next, listen to the sound. Silver rings with the high, bright tone that clad coins simply cannot duplicate. And if your edges look more whitish than copper striped, that's another clue. So why do these rare 1971 errors exist at all? Because the mint was changing over planchets from 40% silver to the new copper nickel clad. Somehow, in the chaos of high production numbers, a few leftover silver blanks slip through. They shouldn't exist, but they do. Moving on, let's take a look at a coin that most people never expect to be valuable, but collectors know it hides one of the most unbelievable mint mistakes of the entire 1970 seconds. The 1973 Kennedy half dollar. Now, at first glance, your coin might look simple. In fine condition, it has some honest wear. Kennedy's cheek is a little smooth, the hair details are softer, and the eagle on the back has lost some feather lines. But here's the part that makes me sit forward every single time. The 1973 half dollar is one of the only dates in this series where a tiny group of coins were struck on planchets that were never meant for Kennedy at all. Yes, wrong planchet errors. And not the common kind. I'm talking about wildly misplaced blanks, the type of mint mistake that sends collectors into bidding wars that feel unreal. When you hear the final price, your 1973 in fine condition is a solid collector piece already. But here's where the shock factor hits. In 1973, the mint was striking Eisenhower dollars, quarters, cents, and Kennedy halves all at the same time. Somewhere in that chaotic production line, a few 1973 Kennedy half dollars were struck on the wrong metal, including quarter-size planchets, 40% silver, dollar blanks, and even a few struck on foreign coins being minted at the same facility for other countries. These are the ghost coins of the Kennedy series, the ones that shouldn't exist, yet somehow slipped past every control system the mint had. And because 1973 halves were not released for circulation at all from the Philadelphia Mint, they were only in mint sets. Any coin that entered the wild carries mystery right from the start. Now, let's break down the normal coin first. A regular 1973 Kennedy half in fine condition is worth maybe a couple dollars. Not bad, but nothing life-changing. But if your coin has even a hint of unusual unusual weight, or unusual thickness, that small detail can flip the value from pocket change to heart-stopping. Here's what sets off alarm bells for collectors. A noticeably lighter coin around 5.6 grams to 6 grams, a noticeably heavier coin around 10.5 to 11 grams, a coin that sounds wrong when tapped, more clink than thud, a coin whose diameter seems slightly off, a missing reeded edge, or a strange edge color, a reverse strike that looks misaligned or off-center. If any of these appear on a 1973 Kennedy half, collectors will chase it like it's gold. And not just a little gold. We're talking auction gold. Let me give you the jaw-drop moment. A genuine 1973 Kennedy half dollar struck on a quarter planchet has reached over $65,000. And an example struck on a 40% silver Eisenhower dollar blank is expected by some experts to break $150,000 if another surfaces in high condition. But here's the part no one expects. A newly discovered 1973 Kennedy wrong planchet error, especially when struck on a foreign coin or a previously undocumented blank, could go even higher. The rarity is unimaginable. A serious collector, or even a museum, could push that price into the $250,000, $300,000, maybe even $450,000 plus range, depending on the metal and strike. Values explode because every new discovery proves that the mint's 1972 equipment wasn't as tightly controlled as people believed. And each time one rare error surfaces, collectors start asking the same question you might be asking right now. Could mine be one too? Now, it's turned to a coin that hides one of the most shocking discoveries in modern half-dollar history. The 1972 Kennedy half dollar. And I have to say this every time I see a 1972 in extra fine condition, like the one we're looking at now, I lean in just a little closer. Because this year has one of the most unbelievable mint errors ever documented. The kind of mistake that slipped through unnoticed for decades, only to explode in value once the truth came out. At first glance, your 1972 Kennedy looks clean and sharp. In extra fine condition, Kennedy's hair still shows strong separation between the strands, the cheekbone is defined, the jawline stands out, and the letters of Liberty have only minor flattening. The reverse eagle looks powerful, most feather details survive, and the shield still shows clear vertical and horizontal lines. This is a quality circulated coin, but condition alone isn't what makes 1972 dangerous for collectors to overlook. It's the metal, because in 1972, something happened that the mint still doesn't like to talk about. A tiny number, and I do mean tiny, of 1972 Kennedy half dollars were struck on 40% silver planchets left over from the early 1970 to 1971 transition. These should have been removed. They should have been melted. They should never have ended up under a 1972 half-dollar die. Yet a few did, and when collectors discovered them, complete shock. These mysterious, silver-based 1972 halves became instant legends. Their existence breaks every rule, because by 1972, the last silver half-dollars were supposed to be long gone. Officially, they weren't even in the building, but a handful slipped through, and if you happen to be holding one, even unknowingly, you're holding a jackpot coin. Now, here's where your extra fine coin becomes especially interesting. XF condition is a sweet spot for identifying silver strikes because the wear exposes the metal's tone more clearly. Silver has a softer, more even gray appearance. The edge tends to show a smooth white band instead of the copper-nickel sandwich look. And when tapped lightly, silver rings-clad coins don single quotes T.SO. What's the value difference? Brace yourself. A normal 1972 half-dollar in XF condition is worth a couple of dollars. Nothing too dramatic. But a 1972 struck on a 40% silver planchet. That coin is a monster. One confirmed discovery sold for over $100,000. And experts believe the next one, especially in higher grade, could break $300,000 or even $400,000 because collectors are desperate to find another. But that's not all. There's a second type of 1972 error that almost no one knows about. The double strike and off-center hybrid errors from the Denver Mint. These include coins struck twice, or struck off alignment, sometimes even folded or struck against another coin. And because the Mint was running high-speed presses in 1972, a few of these slipped out. These dramatic errors are almost impossible to fake, and when authentic, they command unbelievable numbers. A clean, bold, double-struck 1972 Kennedy half could hit $50,000, $75,000, or in near mint condition, perhaps even $125,000 plus, at auction. And then there's the big one, a 1972 Kennedy half-dollar struck on a foreign planchet from a coin being minted for another country. These are incredibly rare, the kind of pieces that surface once a decade. If your 1972 coin has odd color, odd weight, or odd diameter, collectors will jump on it fast. A foreign planchet, 1972 Kennedy? That could break the $500,000 barrier without hesitation. So take a close look at your extra fine example. The wear pattern, the weight, the sound, the metal tone. These small clues can reveal a hidden treasure. And the craziest part, many people have found these rare 1972 errors in old rolls, jars, even change from banks, and they had no idea until someone told them. Now, let's move to a coin that looks simple on the outside, yet hides one of the most surprising secrets of the Denver Mint. The 1968 Kennedy half-dollar. And even though yours is in fine condition with soft hair details, a smoother cheek, and light wear across the eagle's wings, this year still carries a twist that can change everything. Because 1968 is one of those dates where the Mint's shift in production created rare errors that collectors will pay incredible amounts of money to own. First, remember this. 1968 half-dollars were still 40% silver. That alone puts them on a different playing field than the 1970s clad coins. Even a circulated example like yours carries real silver, real weight, and real history. But what makes 1968 truly exciting is not the metal itself. It's the mistakes the Mint made while trying to keep up with demand. Let's start with the basics. Your fine condition coin shows the usual signs of moderate circulation. Kennedy's hair is worn flat on the high points. His cheek blends smoothly into the jawline, and the reverse eagle shows wear along the feathers and shield. The edge still reveals that silver and copper mix, the classic look of a 40% silver planchet. All normal so far, but now, we go deeper, because 1968 is the year of one of the strangest modern mint errors ever seen, the missing FG designer initials. On the reverse of the Kennedy half-dollar, right under the eagle's tail feathers, should be the tiny initials FG for Frank Gasparo, the Mint's chief engraver at the time. In 1968, a few dies were over-polished so aggressively, in fact, that the initials disappeared entirely, A normal coin has the initials, but a missing FG. Collectors will pounce on it like a hawk. A regular 1968D in fine condition is worth only a few dollars, but a genuine missing FG error can jump to $1,000, $2,500, even $5,000 depending on strike clarity. And that's just the starting point. But that's not the biggest discovery from 1968. This year also produced some of the rarest double-struck and off-metal errors ever seen in the Kennedy series. In fact, a few 1968 halves were accidentally struck on leftover 90% silver planchets from older coinage planchets that were supposed to be melted down years earlier. These wrong silver pieces are legendary because they shouldn't exist at all in 1968. Yet a few escaped unnoticed. If your coin weighs heavier than normal, has a brighter silver tone, or rings sharply when tapped, that's a clue. A 1968 Kennedy struck on a 90% silver blank could easily command $75,000, $125,000, even $200,000 plus in the right auction. And then there's the holy grail of 1968 errors. A tiny number of coins were struck on foreign planchets. Because the Denver Mint was producing coins for other countries around the same time, these foreign blanks were smaller, or made of unexpected metals. A 1968 Kennedy half-dollar struck on one of these odd planchets is an absolute monster. Confirmed sales have hit $150,000. And experts say the next newly discovered example could shatter the $350,000 or even $500,000 level because collectors know these mistakes are nearly impossible to find. Imagine that. A worn-looking coin in fine condition, turning out to be a $500,000 rarity simply because the metal underneath isn't the metal the mint intended. So what should you check on your 1968? Look closely under the eagle's tail, see if the FG is weak or missing. Check the weight. Normal 40% silver is about 11.5 grams. Tap it lightly, listen for that silver ring. Study the edge. If it looks brighter and more solid silver, that's a sign. Look for unusual thickness or diameter. Foreign planchet clues. Check for double strikes, broad strikes, or off-center. Imagine one of these signs can change the story of your coin instantly. The 1968 Kennedy half-dollar proves one thing. Sometimes the most ordinary-looking pieces hide the most extraordinary secrets, and collectors will pay life-changing money for the right error. And now, we come to a coin that looks humble, worn, simple, yet has one of the most shocking, unexplained mysteries in the entire Kennedy half-dollar series. The 1967 Kennedy half-dollar. And your coin, in fine condition, carries all the classic signs of real circulation: smooth hair, a flattened cheek, worn eagle wings, and soft lettering. But don't let that worn appearance fool you. 1967 is hiding something that even experts still argue about today. Because, in 1967, the mint did something unusual. They removed mint marks entirely. Every 1967 half-dollar, Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, all of them were intentionally released with no mint mark. This was part of the mint's effort to stop coin hoarding during the mid-1960s. But here's the wild part. Removing the mint mark created a perfect storm for mistakes. Because the mint was rushing, experimenting, switching dies, and striking enormous quantities of coins at full speed. And in that chaos, some unbelievable errors slipped out. Let's begin with your coin. In fine condition, you'll see moderate wear everywhere. Kennedy's hair shows big smooth patches. The cheek blends softly into the jawline. On the reverse, the eagle's feathers are weak, especially on the wings and legs. The shield is softer. The edge shows the classic 40% silver look, a pale silver-gray outer layer with a darker inner core. All completely normal. But 1967 has one of the most legendary secret errors ever discovered. The wrong planchet strikes that never should have happened, because in 1967, the U.S. Mint was deep in foreign coin production. They were striking coins for over a dozen different countries, all mixed into the same facility, using the same presses, with blanks of all different sizes and metals being moved non-stop. And a small number of 1967 Kennedy halves were accidentally struck on those foreign blanks. These are not just rare, they're almost mythical. Imagine a 1967 half-dollar struck on a planchet intended for a coin from Panama, or Israel, or even a tiny Caribbean nation. These blanks were smaller, or made of metals that look nothing like US silver alloy. And when a Kennedy design lands on one of those, you get a coin that looks wrong the instant you hold it. Thinner, odd color, strange edge. One example surfaced weighing far below normal. Another showed a metal tone so unusual that experts spent months testing it before confirming it was a foreign planchet strike. And their values? Absolutely staggering. A regular 1967 Kennedy in fine condition might bring a couple dollars. A nicer one maybe a bit more because of the silver. But a foreign planchet 1967? That's where the story becomes unreal. Auction houses have whispered numbers like $200,000. $300,000, even $400,000, depending on the specific metal. And because these pieces are still being discovered often in old rolls, old jars, or inherited collections, experts believe a newly found example could push past $500,000 easily. But there's another mystery hiding in 1967, a very small number of coins have surfaced with what appears to be a 1965 dated obverse die. Yes, an older die accidentally reused 2 years later. These hybrid date strikes are so rare that some collectors didn't believe them at first. But after analysis, the evidence became undeniable. A few 1967 halves were struck with the wrong date, die, then overstruck again to hide it, leaving ghost traces of the earlier date underneath. A clean example of this? That's a $150,000 to $250,000 coin immediately. A sharper one could break $300,000 or more. And then there are the dramatic errors, huge off-center strikes, double strikes that show Kennedy's profile twice, broad strikes missing their rims entirely, triple strikes, clipped planchets, foldovers. These extreme errors, when paired with the silver content of 1967, can explode in value to $50,000, $75,000, even $100,000 plus. If bold and dramatic. So ask yourself this: what is your 1967 hiding? Check the weight. A normal 40% silver piece should be around 11.5 grams. Check the color. Is it a normal gray, or something odd like yellowish, tin-like, or unusually bright? Check the rim. Is it too thin, too weak, or even missing in spots? Check the diameter. A foreign blank may be smaller. Look closely for doubling, off-center strikes, or clipped edges. And hold it near your ear. Silver has a ring that no other metal can fake. The truth is simple. A 1967 Kennedy half-dollar may look worn, common, even boring, but the right one can change someone's life. And that wraps up our fifth and final coin. You've just seen how everyday Kennedy halves coins millions of Americans walked past for decades can explode into values that belong in museums, not pocket change.